We are currently in a sad and transformative time in the anime industry because one of the biggest players in the modern day romance genre finally ended. Yeah, that's right. Kaguya Wants to Be Confessed To, also known as Love is War, finally concluded with its 281st chapter. And well, fans aren't too pleased. Hi, I'm Bayfund and resident Kaguya-Sama fanboy. So yeah, you can tell that this video is probably going to be a little bit biased. For quite a while now, people have been saying that the manga has been going in a downward spiral. And even for me, someone that can say that Akka and Kaguya-Sama can't do any wrong, I can definitely see it losing some steam. All of the big plot points and everything that was hinted was already hit upon. And I would say that maybe the last 20 to 30 chapters just been like, inching closer to the finish line. But this slowing down in pace isn't necessarily what got people riled up. What people wanted to see were teased arcs, things that were probably mentioned in passing or what we expected to see come to fruition. But since, Kaguya-Sama is a very subversive story, Akka didn't really do that. For the last dozen or so chapters, each one has served as an epilogue for maybe a single character or a duo to see where their story is gonna end. You got a Maki chapter, Ishigami, Chika, Miku, Hayasaka, Kai. Everyone pretty much had a resolution. But a lot of these resolutions were left really open. For example, Ishigami and Miku's arc. This was a ship that people were rooting about for years and years. We've gotten hints, and hell, we've even gotten progress with these two characters. Everything was leading to them being a couple by the end of the manga. And even though we got pretty much a concrete confirmation that they were gonna have to end up together, Akka didn't do that, and he just basically said, hey, what if we put them in the same situation that Shirogane and Kaguya were in the beginning of the manga? Fans were fucking fuming. They wanted to see these two characters finally have their moment, and this just seemed to fizzle everything out. There was nothing else that could be done because this was the end of the manga. People are watching this as Akka's failure to commit to this relationship because they think that he never liked it in the first place. I see it in a different light. Was the relationship in the end treated as a gag? Yeah, but it was a wholesome gag. It's not something that is supposed to infuriate you or make you feel upset. It's actually something that's supposed to make you feel, at the very least, nostalgic. This, like I said before, is the same place that Kaguya and Shirogane were in. Two dumb idiots that were in love with each other trying to get the other to confess to them. Akka putting Ishigami and Miku together in the situation just reinforces that the story goes beyond just the manga. That we can count, even though we're not going to be able to see it, for the story to keep going. I thought it was a sweet finale for him because, personally, I don't hate the idea of wanting more of a story in the future. I mean, this just leaves the door open. If you shut all the doors, then there's pretty much no way for Akka to come back in a few years and write a sequel story or write spin-offs about this. It would just be done and forgotten about. People can't just think about the ideas that are to come. I mean, right after the manga ended too, on Twitter, Akka said that he actually wants to make spin-off stories based on these loose ends. So while the parent story of Kaguya-Sama is over, these characters' stories, maybe not so much. And pretty much each of these characters' epilogues has a similar criticism. Chika still is kind of underutilized as a character. Pretty much an enigma for the readers and the main cast themselves. Maki's relationship status is heavily hinted at, but it's still left unambiguous. And Mikado is still left heartbroken after everything. I mean, goddamn, that family's depression is something we're never gonna see the end of. I would say all of these character stories were pretty much left open to interpretation. It didn't want to shut the door. And that lack of finality, that lack of knowing what comes next is what really irks people. So yeah, I would definitely say that if you don't like open conclusions, then the story definitely is gonna fall flat for you. But I personally like thinking that there is an existence for these characters outside after I'm done reading the stories. It makes them kind of feel alive in that sense. To be honest, the only character that had an ending that was both fulfilling and satisfied pretty much everyone was Hayasaka's, which makes sense because Hayasaka's best girl, and of course he's gonna have the best epilogue. Where we get the time jump that everyone so desperately wanted to see, these characters more grown up, and a lot of things resolved. The final chapter of the series had a little bit where they were talking about maybe continuing with Kaguya Wants to Be Proposed To, but in this Hayasaka story, we see the ring already on Shirogane's hand. So we obviously know how that's gonna end. Ishigami and Miku are both in college and enjoying their lives, even though we don't know the status of their relationship. And finally, some confirmation that Chika and Hayasaka are a couple, canonically, which is hilarious because it's pretty much been teased for a long time. And even though it ends saying that, oh, this was a dream, it's pretty obvious to see that this is where the story is gonna end. I think the most surprising thing about this chapter was Ishigami's fresh new cut. Man's really stepped up his game. So that chapter was probably the most well-received out of all of the most recent ones so far. And even though a large amount of people aren't going to be satisfied with the way that this story ended, it doesn't mean that the story wasn't fantastic. This is definitely going to leave a huge hole in my weekdays, expecting for another chapter to drop, and I'm sure that the entire anime community is going to feel this too. Being one of the best series to come out, not just romance, not comedy, just series in general, is a feat in its own, and I'm glad I was a part of the ride this entire time. The anime is going to continue, and that's still going to do fantastic, but this original story is the thing that got me and almost everyone else hooked in. We're going to see in what way Aka is going to expand on these endings. He said that the spin-offs are probably going to be mangas, but they're probably also going to be interwoven with his other stories like Oshinoko, just like how Kaguya showed up on that end. Something that I'm really hoping for is now that this ended, maybe he'll be able to go back to Instant Bullet and maybe do a little reimagining on that, because that one ended way too soon. So with that, I guess I'm probably going to reread this manga for a 4th time, just because. See you guys next time, and peace.